Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een amma ba'd. So tonight inshallah we're going to continue with zakah, and now we move on to the zakah of gold, silver and currencies. Gold, silver and currencies. So the fuqaha say, the sheikh says, وَأَمَّا صَدَقَةُ الْأَثْمَانِ As for the zakah on gold, silver and currencies, فإنه ليس فيها شيء حتى تبلغ 200 درهم وفيها ربع العشر. That there is no zakah on silver until it reaches 200 dirhams. Until it reaches 200 dirhams, and then you'd give ربع العشر. And when it reaches 200 dirhams for silver, and for gold 20 mithqal, 20 dinars, then you give ربع العشر. You give a quarter of a tenth. A quarter of a tenth. Right? ربع is a quarter and al-ushur of a tenth. So therefore, if you were to multiply that quarter by 4 to get a full number, it will be 1, and then at the bottom 10 by 4 is 40. So 1 over 10. So therefore the zakah, what we're going to mention, you can use any way to calculate. If you take your amount, the amount that you have to get the amount to give in zakah, you can multiply it by 2.5% because that's the same thing, or you can divide it by 40. Like how I mentioned, that's how it reaches 1 over 40. You can divide it by 40 and that will be your zakah. So we said 200 dirhams and 20 mithqal of a dinar. So therefore, in summary, many of the ulama say that we'd say that the nisaab of silver is 595 grams. The nisaab of silver is 595 grams. If you have of silver 595 grams of silver, then you give zakah on silver. And for gold, they say 85 grams. Then you give zakah on gold. So silver, you gauge silver's nisaab with silver, and gold's nisaab with gold. So if you have some gold that is not 85 grams, let's say you have 20 grams of gold, but its worth is more than the nisaab of silver, there's no zakah on it. That's very important to remember. So gold's nisaab is always with gold, silver's nisaab is always with silver. Except in one situation, we'll mention it in the next dars, but I'll indicate to it now as well. And that is when you are selling the gold or silver. So it becomes a trading asset. So now you don't look at it as a zakah of currency, but rather you look at it as if you are trading with it. So therefore the nisaab now will be the lesser of gold or silver. So that gold that is 20 grams, but its worth is more than the nisaab of silver, then this you'd use that to now conclude maybe that you'd have the nisaab of trading assets. But when we're not doing trading assets, then gold is always with gold and silver is always with silver. Right? Currencies are coming next. Now, if a person does not have 595 grams, we're working with grams of silver, or 85 grams of gold, but he has some silver and some gold, then we'd say this person sees, he would see what's the percentage I have of the gold nisaab. So he may have 20, so let's round it off for ease to 25%, or he could have 40, so he has 50%, right? And of silver, from the 595, how many grams does he have? He could have 200, he could have 300. Let's say, for example, he has half the nisaab of silver, so we'll say 50% of the nisaab of silver he has. Then for gold, he has 20 out of 85. So for ease of the maths, let's say he has 25%. So he has 25% of the nisaab of gold, 50% of the nisaab of silver. Then we add the percentages together. So he has 50 plus 25, he has 75% of the nisaab. So that means he didn't reach the nisaab. He doesn't give zakah. But he could have 60% of the nisaab of silver and 50% of the nisaab of gold. We say here he gives zakah. Or 60, 40, 40, 60, as long as what's the percentage of silver you have of silver, what's the percentage you have of gold. So not the worth. the percentage. Then you add the percentages together. If it is the nisab, which we're calling 100%, if it is the 100% or more, meaning of the nisab we're deeming the nisab is 100, then here he gives zakah. Here he gives zakah on the worth. He doesn't need to specifically give of gold or silver. He gives the worth essentially, because he has both. He has both. And therefore, we say that when it comes to gold or silver, and even currency that we're going to mention now, you can give out the zakah of gold or silver in either of the two. You can give zakah of gold out as its worth in silver. And the amount in gold you can give, you owe 2.5% of the amount you have, you can take out from your gold and give it. You can buy gold from the market and give it. You can, and that percentage exactly, that amount of grams. Or you can buy the worth of the grams of the gold that you have to give in zakah of silver. And vice versa with silver. Or you can give it out in currency. You can give it out in currency. The worth of the grams of gold you owe in zakah, or grams of silver you owe in zakah, in a currency. And that currency you can give the zakah. Let's say you have more, you don't have much gold or silver or nothing, but you have a currency. Let's say you have pounds. You can give the zakah of the pounds you owe in gold or silver, or its worth in another currency. That's important to know. All of these things are deemed as if they are one jins, one type in the chapter of zakah. In the chapter of zakah. In the chapter of riba, they're different. They're different in terms of the aspect of, we'll mention it inshallah, in terms of fadl and stuff. But that's important to know. Right, then when it comes to your currencies, most of the fuqaha say, in fact, the vast majority say that, number one, you're going to give zakah on your currency. Number two, they say, you see the worth, how much is your total cash that you have, right? Then if you have the lower of the two, the lower of the worth of gold, so you'll see gold, 85 grams of gold is the nisab, that's in grams of gold. So you can convert it to the currency you are using with the price, with the price on your day of zakah. So you go on the internet and you see the price of gold, a gram of gold on your day of zakah, on the day of zakah. Then you multiply that by the price of gold in your currency. You multiply that by 85. Then you see, do the same for silver, you multiply by 595. The lower of the two, that's your nisab for your currency. That's your nisab for your currency. If the amount you have is more than the lower of the two of gold or silver, then there's zakah on your currency. Then there's zakah on your currency. If it's below both of them, then there's no nisab on them. Then there's no nisab on them. And the same thing you do if you have less than the lower nisab of currency and less than the nisab of gold or silver, then what would you do? You'd add them together. You'd add them together. How? By percentage as well. I have 40%, let's say the lower of gold and silver is silver. So I have in cash 40% of the nisab of silver. Of gold, I have 30% of the nisab of gold, and of silver, I have 30, I have 20%. So that equals 90%. No zakah. But if I had more, 100 or more, then we'd say zakah. If I had the nisab of silver, but not enough of gold and not enough of cash for the nisab, I'll add them all together with the silver and then give zakah 2.5%, or divide, you add them all together and then you see the value, the total value, because they're different types, and then you give 2.5% of that, or divide it by 40, whichever calculation you want to do, and that will be your zakah on currency. So we spoke about gold and silver, right? The Hanbali fuqaha, along with the majority of the ulama, the mashhur of the madhab is that when it comes to jewelry, then we mentioned in the earlier durus which jewelry is permissible. So we're starting off by mentioning permissible jewelry. Gold or silver that is permissible, that we mentioned in the beginning lessons in the fiqh of utensils. That means for a female, any type, gold jewelry, whatever the metal. Some are makruh, but we leave that for another time. But she can wear whatever it is customary for females to wear. And for a male, we said the riwayah thaniya is that he can wear silver silver, from gold and silver, he can wear silver, not gold, except in those situations of need. He can wear other metals, some are makruh as well, we'll touch on it another time, but he can wear from silver whatever is customary as well for males to wear as jewelry. Okay, so that would be what we're speaking about here as a start. So when it comes to jewelry, for gold and silver, the fuqaha say that if this gold and silver is bought or acquired with the intention for usage or to lend out, if somebody asks to lend it, to borrow it, then in this case there'd be no zakah on it. It doesn't physically have to be used, it doesn't physically have to be lent out, but it is there ready for use. Maybe a lady bought jewelry for specific occasions or specific weddings, specific family members, for example, and no wedding has come yet where she had the chance to wear it. No zakah on it, because she'll wear it when it is ready. Or she bought with the intention to lend out. Even though no person came to ask yet, we say if it is for lending out, then there's no zakah. Then there is no zakah. Same thing for a male. Same thing for a male for the silver that he's allowed to use. There's no zakah if it is for those two. If it is haram jewelry. If it is haram jewelry, meaning a lady has gold or silver for what is not worn customary, or a male has something of gold, then he will include that in his zakah. How? He'll include it just like how we mentioned earlier. He'll take the weight of the gold and include it in his zakah. The weight. So he'll add 20 grams of gold that he has. He'll add it to that. He'll add it to his total. The same thing with the female. There's one thing that we're going to come to there. So that's when, and then he take out his zakah also in weight. He can then convert it to value and give that out as well. Okay, so when we say he takes she takes the gold or the silver, the weight. We're speaking about pure gold, meaning 24 karat. Therefore, if a person has zakah as jewelry, the same will apply to things that are haram, like utensils, for example. For utensil, you use the weight of the gold or the silver. If the whole utensil is made of gold or silver, you're using the whole weight. If there is more to it that's gold or silver, the extra, the whole utensil is haram. But the extra that's there, that you're also paying for, you're paying for the gold or the silver that's in it, but also whatever extra is there, that extra part, you don't take it into consideration. It's as if it's not there because it's haram. So you take still the weight of gold only, and you take out from the gold. So you won't say that the utensil is actually worth 200,000, or let's say 2,000. We'll say it has 5 grams of gold. So the whole thing is haram. You won't look and add 2,000. You take 5 grams and add that to your total. If there is the gold or the silver that you have is not pure gold, not 24 karat, then if you have one type, then perhaps you could, then the Nisaab would change. You can work it like that and conclude the Nisaab would be more for 21 karat or 18 karat. It would be more because it's not pure gold. So you need more of it to equal the worth of 85 grams. So you take 85 grams multiplied by 24 divided by the karat. That would give you an amount that would now be your Nisaab. So if you have all your jewelry is of 21 karat, for example, you can use the new Nisaab to see if this 21 karat reaches that, and done. But if you have, let's say you don't want to, or you have different types, 18, 21, 12, then here what do? Then here you can convert it, we're using any method, any math calculation, to convert it to how much of it, how many grams of pure gold is it actually worth. So here you can take the grams of the gold multiplied by the karat, then divide it by 24. Then that amount, you can use that amount to see and add them up to see if they reach 85. Then the last mas'ala is that if you have gold or silver, that is, so for it to be jewelry, it's raw gold or silver, it's been produced and manufactured into jewelry, and this manufacturing must be in a halal manner. So if it is in a haram manner, we mentioned the fiqh. And if there's no manufacturing happening to this piece of gold or silver, then it's not jewelry, it will fall into normal zakah of gold and silver. Normal zakah of gold and silver. If a person has this jewelry, not for usage and not for usage and not for lending out, and also not for sale, then in this case, so they mentioned some examples, he just has it, or he has it basically to rent out. So this is where gold and silver differs with other things for rent out. Just remember that. He has it to rent out, or he has it to keep if he needs it at a certain point in life, or when the price goes up, then he'll sell it. No, not this example, this last one doesn't go. Not to keep it, to sell it, that will change the zakah. But he keeps it to basically use from there, or to basically to spend from it. Essentially, yes, to gain cash from it to spend on his family. They say nafaqah. Then in this case, there'll be zakah. But they say to get the nisaab, you check the weight, irrespective of the worth. You use the weight to conclude the nisaab. But the zakah you're taking out, you take it out based on the value. The value may be more, because it's not just a piece of gold. It's a piece of gold, and manufacturing and skill has gone into this watch, or into this ring, into this necklace, to make it now its worth. Or it has another stone with it. So the worth is more, the price is more. Then here for the zakah, you take out the higher. You take out from the worth. You take out from the worth if it is higher than the gram value that would take us to nisaab. If it is higher than the gram value that would take us to the nisaab, right? Meaning with this addition, it is more than just it alone without the addition. So when its worth is more than just the grams itself, then you give zakah. In this case, in this situation where you have this, not when it's haram or it's for trading or something, it's when it is for nafaqah, or it is to rent out, or you have no intention with it. Then here you'd give zakah in the manner I mentioned. Another thing, the last thing is, they say if you have broken jewelry that cannot be worn, then you give zakah on them. And if they can be worn, then it would fall into, is it for usage or lending out? So that's with regards to the zakah of gold and silver. In summary, especially the jewelry aspect, in summary, we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to teach us that which benefit us, and benefits us with that which teaches us. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.